Khara-Khoto was a Tangut city in the Ejin Banner of Alxa League in western Inner Mongolia near Juyan Lake Basin. It has been identified as the city of Etzina, which appears in the Travels of Marco Polo. The present banner, Ejin Banner, is named after this city. Name: Khara-Khoto is known with many names, such as Chinese, Haigeng, Black City, Ejin City, Modern Mongolian Kharkot, Middle Mongol language, Khara-Khoto, Black City, and the Chinese as Hai Shui City. History: the city was founded in 1032 and became a thriving center of Western Xia trade in the 11th century. There are remains of 30-foot-high ramparts and 12-foot-thick outer walls. The outer walls ran for some 421 meters east-west by 374 meters north-south. The walled fortress was first taken by Genghis Khan in 1226, but, contrary to a widely circulated misunderstanding, the city continued to flourish under Mongol overlordship. During Kublai Khan's time, the city was expanded, reaching a size 3 times bigger than during the Tangut Empire. Tofontima concentrated his preparation for reconquest of China at Khara-Khoto. The city was located on the crossroads connecting Karakoram, Shangdu and Kumal. In the Travels of Marco Polo, Marco Polo describes a visit to a city called Etzina or Etzina, which has been identified with Khara-Khoto. When you leave the city of Kampuchu, you ride for 12 days, and then reach a city called Etzina, which is towards the north on the verge of the sandy desert. It belongs to the province of Tangut. The people are idolaters, and possess plenty of camels and cattle, and the country produces a number of good falcons, both sakers and lanners. The inhabitants live by the cultivation and the cattle, for they have no trade. At this city you must needs lay in victuals for 40 days, because when you quit Etzina, you enter on a desert which extends 40 days' journey to the north, and on which you meet with no habitation or baiting place, according to a legend of the local Tangut population. In 1372, a Mongol military general named Khara-Khoto was surrounded with his troops by the armies of China's Ming dynasty, diverting the Ejin River, the city's water source that flowed just outside the fortress. The Han Chinese denied Khara-Khoto water for its gardens and wells. As time passed and Khara-Khoto realized his fate, he murdered his family and then himself. After his suicide, Khara-Khoto's soldiers waited within the fortress until the Ming finally attacked and killed the remaining inhabitants. Another version of the legend holds that Khara-Khoto made a breach in the northwestern corner of the city wall and escaped through it. The remains of the city has a breach through which a rider can pass. The defeat of the Mongols at Khara-Khoto is described in the Ming dynasty annals. In the 5th year of Hungu, General Feng Sheng and his army reached Etzina. The town's defender Byantima surrendered, and Chinese troops reached the mountains of Bojiashan. The ruler of Yuan, Yardjipan, fled. His minister, and 27 others were captured, together with 10 or more thousand head of horses and cattle. Quote, after the defeat, and also possibly due to real water shortage, the city was abandoned and left in ruins. Its exceedingly remote location preserved it from looters. Exploration. Russian explorers Grigory Potanin and Vladimir Obrushev heard rumors that somewhere downstream the Ejin River an ancient city was waiting. This knowledge gave impetus to the Asian Museum, St. Petersburg, to launch a new Mongol Sichuan expedition under the command of Pyotr Kosmij Kozlov. During the 1907–1909 expedition to Central Asia in 1908, Kozlov made the historical discovery of Khara-Khoto. With a dinner and gift of a gramophone to a local Tangut lord Dashibal, Kozlov obtained a permission to dig in the site, arriving on May 1, 1908 to Khara-Khoto ruins. Over 2,000 books, scrolls and manuscripts in the Tangut language were uncovered. Kozlov initially sent 10 chests of manuscripts and Buddhist objects to St. Petersburg, returning again in May 1909 for more objects. The books and woodcuts were found in June while excavating a stupa outside city walls some 400 meters westward. Sir Aurel Stein excavated Khara-Khoto during his third Central Asian expedition from July 1913 to February 1916, surveying Khara-Khoto for 8 days at the end of May 1914. The findings from this research was incorporated in Chapter 13 of Stein's first volume of Innermost Asia. Langdon Warner visited Khara-Khoto in 1925. Folk Bergman first traveled to Khara-Khoto in 1927, returning in 1929 and staying for a year and a half in the area. He made maps of Khara-Khoto and the Ejin River area, surveyed watchtowers and fortresses, finding a large number of xylographs. Bergman noted that Kozlov's and Stein's visits were cursory and some of the published documentation was partially incorrect. Sven Hedin and Zhu Zusheng led the Sino-Swedish expedition on archaeological excavations of the site between 1927 to 31. After Hedin, John de Francis visited in 1935. Further Chinese excavations between 1983 and 1984 by Li Yiyu, Inner Mongolian Institute of Archaeology, have produced some 3,000 more manuscripts. In addition to books, these excavations unearthed building materials, daily items, production instruments and religious art. Satellite photos show that the site is currently being preserved. Findings. Kozlov's findings, some 3,500 paintings and other objects, are in the Hermitage Museum, St. Petersburg, while the books and xylographs are at the Institute of Oriental Studies. These fortunately survived the siege of Leningrad, and some of them were even lost until the rediscovery in 1991, forming the basis for research of the Tangut language, written in Tangut script in subsequent years. The books and manuscripts sent back to St. Petersburg by Kozlov were studied by Alexey Ivanovich Ivanov, who identified several Tangut dictionaries, including a Chinese Tangut glossary titled Pearl in the Palm, compiled in 1190. In addition to written artifacts, the Khara-Khoto collection in the Hermitage Museum includes paintings on silk, mainly of Buddhist subjects in Chinese and Tibetan styles. In addition, batik-dyed silk fragments have also been found. A small mud wall painting fragment confirms use of cobalt as a pigment in the form of smalt. According to Hermitage curator Kira Samosiuk, most of the paintings in the collection date from the 11th through 13th centuries, while the majority of the fragments of porcelain with cobalt decorative glazing are from the 14th century. No painting is of a later date than 1378 to 1387. No Chinese text later than 1371. No Tangut text later than 1212. So it seems that the life of the town ceased sometime around 1380. One of the puzzles of Khara-Khoto is that there was one building just outside the castle walls. Judging by its shape, it seems to be a mosque. It seems there were Muslims among the people that were ruled by the Tangut. Due to the polytheistic belief of the local people, the Muslims built the mosque outside.